The things that always changes is the metaphor. And to me the metaphor is the way of looking at the window through which you look and review the world. The metaphor of Nietzsche, I should say, is of course an immense metaphor. Immense. And I traced it, I will be tracing in a book which I'm presenting, called The Intra-History of the Universe, in which because there is a history and there is an intra-history in my conception. The intra-history will be what is broken up, the pieces that are left between history. Women, particularly right now, submerged groups in this country and elsewhere, find this as a very useful thing on the face of those lacunae, of those gaps in human history, of those omissions, of those warpings, of those distortions. People, particularly Americans, we suffer from tremendous, all the American continent has a commonality in that sense. They were so young that our memory is very short. And some of us don't even know where our parents came from, you know? So there's that sense of dislocation. So the metaphor of Nietzsche, for example, represents that a beginning on a blank slate, a new beginning. So we are creating our reality against that beginning. I'll give you one example from your land. Since we've been speaking of my land, we'll talk about yours a little bit. It's not far from here. It's called Plymouth Rock. Now, Plymouth Rock, supposedly, according to a historian that I've been reading, who teaches at Smith College with me, a colleague, he says that Plymouth Rock doesn't even exist as a reality, that it was literally, no one knows exactly where it was. Second, the pilgrims, the so-called pilgrims, did not exist as pilgrims until much later. Thirdly, the so-called Thanksgiving feast was called Forefathers' Day in 1865, but it did not exist as a real religious festivity before that. It is based on a little paragraph in Bradford's notes, which simply refers to a little partaking of food. There was no religious intention. Here is the process of myth-making. Before the past, what we do is we fill in the gaps. We fill in the gaps. So all of existence is circumscribed by amnesia. Human history is 5,000 years long. In between, we have huge gaps. And beyond that, all the way extended to infinity, we have absolutely no memory. So what do? If we happen to be biocosmologists, what we do is we begin inventing poeticisms to fill in those gaps. We call it the Big Bang Theory, right? Or we call it the primum mobile. We call it the spoof, the boom, the path. Any one of those makes as much sense as the Big Bang. The key to all of this, of course, is the process of fictionalization in which we are constantly, even as we sit here, and this is where I ripped this up because if I had kept it to this script, I remember distinctly a line from Alice in Wonderland, which is lovely. Maybe you, I'm sure, love Alice in Wonderland. He says, the king comes up and says, the horror of it, you know, in that British accent, which I can't possibly do. The horror of it, the horror. He said, I will never forget that experience. You know, he was referring to an experience. The horror of it, I will never forget. And the Queen, of course, with much more common sense, which is usually the case with women, says, oh yes, you will, if you don't make a memorandum of it. And this is a constant state in their existence. Now, most of us, from the moment that we're born, I should say also that amnesia is a persistent force in our lives. It is a constant, it molds, it subverts our thinking, and it is it's a constant presence. It's a surreptitious presence that we all feel, but most of us would like to keep aside. Hence, we use cameras. Kodak, the storyteller of America, we use video machines. We are trying to build up a mountain of memory. We're using computers. In the meantime, underneath these, of course, there's a sea of amnesia. There's a sea of amnesia which my Indians believed in was the beginning and end of the universe.